Hello and welcome to another episode of TrekHammer, where we're discussing Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 5 this time. Let's get straight into it. So this week's episode is very much like a Next Generation episode. It's a focus on character episode. It's got an interesting B-plot that seamlessly intertwines with the main plot by the end. It's an episode about discovering an alien species that's unlike what we would normally experience in Star Trek, and it all revolves around people actually listening to one another and believing them when they say something's happening. Very TNG. I really like this. So at its core, it's basically a first contact scenario, and that's really good. I love to see that kind of thing. This is what Star Trek really does best. A cerebral thing about, we've got this strange experience, and there's a new alien species trying to communicate, but we're not sure how, and things like that. But at the same time, it's got those elements of horror that Star Trek does surprisingly well, with the images of the dead coming back to life and things like that. It's really interesting. It's got a nice bit about, well, perhaps you're very tired. You have been working very hard, and all of these symptoms do line up. And then the logic thing comes in, which is actually presented logically, and then the discussion about that. So, but logically, that would have occurred after all the tiredness, but this happened before, blah, blah, blah. Very interesting. Love it. People thinking their way through things and explaining things to each other properly. None of this, oh, I should have said X, Y, and Z, but I didn't, and they've misinterpreted, and now we've got all these issues. The type of thing that would happen in a comedy because everyone's an idiot. None of that. This was proper, pure Star Trek. Really, really liked it. Again, another episode, I can't believe this is happening, where James Kirk's in it, and the episode is really good. Is Kirk being in it an indicator of quality? I do like that idea, but I'd like it more if the other ones could hold up as well. But it's interesting that Kirk doesn't have a great relationship with his brother, because I thought he did. And of course, we don't see an awful lot of that explored in the original series because his brother's dead. Spoiler alert for a 50-year-old episode, sorry. But it's true. So it's interesting to see that, because I thought the two brothers, they would have more of a brotherly dynamic. But they don't. And more importantly, because they don't, and because Spock also has a bit of an issue with Kirk's brother, they come together at the end in a scene that I did not expect and actually left me with tears. It wasn't made a big thing of, it wasn't built up like it was this great thing that happens in the universe and has to happen for the universe to be alright. It was just, Lieutenant Kirk, meet Mr. Spock. And that's all we needed. And it's like, it's exactly what I wanted. I didn't know I wanted it until I have it now. Oh, yes. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Excellent writing. Seeing Hammer again, wonderful. And the way he's used in this episode is perfect. It's really well done, really nicely done. Having them there from the past and the representation we get, wonderful. And also for him to be there as a way of not just... because at the end of the last series, let me explain this, it felt like fridging. He was killed off to motivate the others. But by bringing him back and having his death actually mean something and having it built as... this has been something that these people have been struggling with ever since. That is wonderful, because it's not fridging then, it's actual people dealing with the consequences of actions. So nice. This was proper Star Trek. This series has shown, and to be honest with you, the previous series was pretty damn good as well, but this series has really shown that modern Star Trek still gets it. It still knows how to do old Star Trek style. And I love it for that. It's wonderful. Really well written, really well acted. Uhura's got a nice character piece here, so I'm happy with that. And it's good because we didn't get a huge amount of character for Uhura in the original series. A lot of the time, yes, it was lovely that she was there, but a lot of the time she was basically relegated to answering the phone. And that's not great from a character point of view because, well, someone's got to answer the phone, but I need a bit more than that. And now we're getting more of that. Dr. Mabenga again presented pretty well. Chapel I still don't like, but I don't know. There's just something this character still doesn't feel like the character from the original series. Everyone else feels like a younger version that is growing into who we would know they would become. But Chapel, I'm not sure how to put this in a way that gets my point across. Basically, Chapel feels like she has to have a 180-degree turn and go backwards in order to get to the point where she's essentially the blank slate that we see in the original series. And I don't like the implication of that, because we're getting this strong kick-ass character who is then just going to dissolve into the background for the most part. Seems a bit weird. I'm not sure how they're going to reconcile the two, and I don't like the implication that they may not. It's a bit odd. But, for the most part, I enjoyed the show. It was really, really good. The presentation of the aliens was interesting. Could have done a bit more of that, but the way that the conflicts were put across was good, and I liked the way that essentially the antagonist of the episode wasn't presented as a villain, he was presented as a victim. That was excellent. So all in all, this was great. Really well written, really well acted, really liked how it came together. Yeah, 9 out of 10. Absolute 9 out of 10. I might have gone for 10 out of 10, but I think, I don't know. There are a couple of areas, like I've mentioned, where perhaps we could have had a bit more. I would have liked to have seen more about them working out the way the aliens are communicating, rather than that revelation, which I understand, it worked for the episode and it worked very well for character development, but I would have liked that to have been built up a bit more, you know? For the audience that have probably already worked it out, but I'd like the characters to have had more than just a revelation. So, instead of 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, but still a very solid episode. Really enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get next, because this series, wow, this series is great. It's really doing proper justice to Star Trek, and I am loving it. Let's see what happens next time. If you like the show, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really does help create future videos. That's patreon.com/Zoe Kirk Robinson. And I've got an extra special thanks going out to Chief89, Sam Yates, Retro Mickey 82, Mo Henry, and George Bortorini. Thank you so much, guys.